Hey everybody, for those of you who don't know me and this channel, this is Sports Talk Detroit, where me and my buddy Chris do sports video on all sports Detroit and even a little bit beyond. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Ben Simmons and the trade rumors that are swirling all over the place right now. This is all over the map. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about potential fit with the Detroit Pistons. And even if you're not a Pistons fan, Ben Simmons has been linked to many teams. So we're going to talk a little bit about what kind of a player you'd be getting in Ben Simmons. So if you like our videos, if you like what we're doing, if you want to continue watching, don't forget and please consider to hit that subscribe button. Also, drop a few comments below. We'd love to talk with you about what you're thinking about our videos, talking about this one, Ben Simmons, the Pistons, and any other team that you might hope he would go to. So let's talk about this guy, Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has got kind of a bad rap right now, and it's not really a fair assessment. It really isn't. He had one bad game. He refused to shoot in the final game of the Sixers season last year in the postseason, and now nobody likes him. The Sixers were out on him, and now other people are starting to be out on him. But that's not who Ben Simmons is. It's not. This is a guy who has 4 years left on his contract. He's being paid anywhere from $34 million in the first year or so up to $40 million in 4 years. He's going to get good money. And while he might not be worth quite that much, he's worth a lot. Think about what Ben Simmons has done. He's really only played 3 full years in the NBA. He's been an all-star multiple times. He's been an all-defensive team multiple times. And he was a third-team all-pro 2 years ago. He's a good player, but he has fatal flaws. When I break down players in trade destinations, I like to talk about their field goal percentage from 3 inside. I'm not going to do that with Ben Simmons. Here's what you need to know. He can absolutely attack the basket. He will get you 16 to 20 points a game simply attacking the basket. He can find and create shots for other players. And he is so tall for his ball handling skills. He is a point forward at its best. Here's the problem. The fatal flaw with Ben Simmons is he can't shoot. He can't shoot free throws, and he can't shoot the 3, and honestly, he doesn't have much of a mid-range game either. So, if you don't have a team that can surround him with shooting, you have a problem. And even when they can, it can be a struggle, but I think he can be utilized. And your true Detroit Pistons have now emerged as one of the teams that are a dark horse, as quoting a lot of the articles that I've been reading lately, to land Ben Simmons in a trade. So what would that look like? What would it take for the Detroit Pistons to get Ben Simmons? Now, anytime you start a trade package like this, you just have to imagine, for salary cap reasons alone and talent, it has to start with Jeremy Grant. It must start with Jeremy Grant, who's on the books for $20 million this year. That gets a large chunk of this salary taken care of. And quite frankly, Jeremy Grant fits well in Philadelphia. He really does. He's a similar size to Ben Simmons. He can be a good defensive player, but he has better outside shooting. I can imagine a front court of Tobias Harris, Jeremy Grant, and Joel Embiid. That's a good front court. That can win you a lot of games. But what about in Detroit? What else would they have to do? I've heard Jeremy Grant and a first-round pick. Here's the problem. The Pistons pick is protected next year from a trade earlier. And then you can't do a first-round pick 2 years in a row. So that means if we're going to give a first-round pick to the 76ers, it wouldn't be until the year 2024. That's 3 years away. So do you kick that can down the road and give a first-rounder if you're a Pistons fan? Or do you say, hey, Jeremy Grant and Killian Hayes, would that be enough to land Ben Simmons? I don't know if it would. But Killian is the option that, if I'm being completely honest, and I know Killian has a lot of upside, then you're going to hear a player breakdown on Killian on this channel very soon, I'm sure, because I'm going to be doing a lot of breakdowns of the players heading into the season. But what can we expect out of Killian Hayes? He hasn't showed it. Honestly, he hasn't had a fair shot. He got drafted. A month later, he's playing his first NBA game, and then he gets injured. He didn't show a ton in Summer League, but he only played in a couple games there too. But here's the thing that happens. Let's just play in fantasy land for a second. If Ben Simmons gets traded to the Pistons for Jeremy Grant, Killian Hayes, and we'll even throw in a second rounder or two, maybe even a first rounder, that first rounder in 2024. I don't know if I like the trade, but what it does do is it opens up both the backcourt and the front court for the Pistons. It gets rid of kind of that log jam. And you can say Ben Simmons absolutely has his flaws, but at the same time, the Pistons would be a better team with him right now. They would be better. And at this point in their career, even though Jeremy Grant is 2 years older, even though he is showing a lot of promise, right now, Ben Simmons is a better player. He can be the slasher. He can be the creator. Cade Cunningham won't have as much pressure on him to be the shot creator and facilitator. And Ben Simmons can take a lot of that role. They can work well. And I can only imagine what a backcourt of Ben Simmons and Cade Cunningham could do to other teams defensively. The length is absolutely out of control. And you start looking at the lineups, and it would leave Ben Simmons, Saben Lee, Corey Joseph, and even Cade Cunningham to play the point guard. We talk about positionless basketball, and the Pistons are starting to do that because then they could play Cade at the 2. This would open up room for Hamidou Diallo to play the 2, Josh Jackson, Frank Jackson, who I like much more than Josh Jackson. And then at small forward, Sadiq Bey. Hamidou Diallo can play the 3 still, and same with Josh Jackson. And then you can do crazy things with the lineup. You could put Ben Simmons at the 4 because you know he can't shoot. Now he can facilitate from the 4. He can almost play the exact same role that Draymond Green plays for the Golden State Warriors, except at a much more athletic level. Ben Simmons has the ability to shut down anybody on the other team, but he is a better offensive player than Draymond Green is. So he is a better version of Draymond. He could play the 4. That might actually be where his best position going forward in the NBA could be. You still have Kelly Olynyk. All right, you have him. You have Sadiq Bey that can play the 4. Isaiah Stewart can play the 4. And even Isaiah Livers. I don't know how much playing time he's going to get even coming off that injury. And then you still have Isaiah Stewart, Kelly Olynyk that are able to play the 5. And I don't expect Luka Garza necessarily to make the roster because he's on that 2-way contract. But you can see the versatility in this lineup. It gives room for all you Saben Lee lovers out there who love his athleticism and what he showed in Summer League. It gives room for him to play. But the big thing is the versatility of Ben Simmons. So I know a lot of people, a lot of Pistons fans out there saying, I don't want Ben Simmons, and you're basing it off one playoff series. One game, even more than that. Sure, he's limited. He can't shoot. But if you have a team where you can surround, and this just doesn't go for the Pistons, anybody who can trade for Ben Simmons, if you have a team where you can surround him with 4 shooters at all times, his defensive ceiling is very, very high. He will make you a much better defensive team, and he can work in the right offensive system. We see a lot of players that are 3-point challenged that don't hurt their teams tremendously on the offensive end as long as the other players can shoot. And I think Ben Simmons, he can do that. So if you're asking me, do I want to trade for Ben Simmons? I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that. But here's what I will say. If the Pistons had a press release tomorrow that they traded for Ben Simmons, I wouldn't be upset. He's 25 years old. A lot of people are saying, hey, it doesn't match the timeline of what we're doing. He's on a 4-year contract. As the young guys get better and they're in their 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, Ben Simmons is still under contract. He's still young. He's still athletic. He can still facilitate. It fits the timeline, so don't buy that narrative. But do I think it'll happen? It's a long shot. The question is, what do you think? Would you want Ben Simmons on the Detroit Pistons, or would you want Ben Simmons on your team if you're watching from another fan base? Again, if you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe and leave those comments below beneath the subscribe button.